Hello everyone and welcome to Sketch Review, the series where I review movies and shows but in a fun, unique, and artistic way. Today I'll be reviewing the second movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, a movie that was largely forgotten by the franchise until recently. That is The Incredible Hulk, released on June 13th, 2008, directed by Louis Leterrier, starring Edward Norton, Liv Tyler, Tim Roth, William Hurt, Tim Blake Nelson, and Ty Burrell. I know a lot of people don't like this movie, but I remembered enjoying it, and let's just say my opinion has changed a bit. 5 years ago, Dr. Bruce Banner was performing dangerous experiments using gamma radiation. After a test using gamma on himself fails, it alters his cells, causing him to develop a large, powerful, green alter ego, the Hulk, whenever his heart rate gets too high. Blaming Bruce for hospitalizing his daughter Betty and the deaths of a few scientists during his first transformation, General Thaddeus Ross, who was overseeing the project, turns Banner into a fugitive. This, to me, is the movie's biggest flaw. Everything I just said to you was summarized in the opening credits of the movie. Now, given the context that a Hulk movie going over his origin released only 5 years prior to this, it makes sense why they'd kind of skip over it save for quick flashback scenes and some dialogue, even if this is a reboot. But it also causes me to never get invested in these characters and their relationships, so later on in the movie, during the more dramatic moments, at least for me, I just don't connect with it. Now hiding in Brazil, working at a bottling plant and preventing a transformation for the past few months, Banner is in contact with a man named Mr. Blue to try and cure the Hulk. At the bottling plant, Bruce accidentally cuts his finger and cleans up the blood that he finds, but doesn't realize that some of it fell into one of the drinks, which seemingly kills Stan Lee's cameo character. General Ross hears about this and brings in British Spec Ops soldier Emil Blonsky to lead the capture of Banner. Emil and his team chase after Bruce, who nearly manages to escape them, but is caught by a group of bullies who are also just working at the plant, I guess. Banner's heart rate reaches 200 beats per minute, causing him to transform into the Hulk. Before leaving, he slaughters the bullies and soldiers except for Blonsky, who narrowly escapes. Emil, who got a good look at the Hulk before escaping, confronts Ross about what happened in there when he's informed that Banner is the creature that they fought. That would have been good information to tell them before they went in to capture him, but as you'll see throughout the movie, General Ross continues to just make stupid decisions. Later, Ross explains that unknown to Banner, the gamma research was going to be used to modernize the World War II super soldier program that created Captain America, and tells Blonsky that he might have something in mind for him. Banner awakens in Guatemala before traveling to Culver University to find the now recovered Betty Ross, not only to see her, but to retrieve the research on the project that made him the Hulk. However, before he can talk to her, he sees that she has a new boyfriend, Leonard Samson, who serves no purpose in this movie whatsoever. I feel like a lot of stuff was cut out of this movie, especially regarding Samson, who is a Hulk character in the comics, but does nothing in this movie. I think making the movie a little bit longer could have helped with us getting to care about the characters more, instead of just jumping from scene to scene to advance the plot. Banner goes to a pizza parlor to meet with his old friend Stanley Lieber, who for some reason isn't played by Stan Lee, asking for a job. He uses this job to bribe his way to the university computers using his pizza to, get past security, where we get a nice cameo from Lou Ferrigno, who played the Hulk in the 70s TV show. Realizing his research wasn't on the university's database, he heads back to the pizza parlor where Betty and Leonard happen to be. Walking dramatically in the rain, Betty and Bruce finally reunite. Betty is possibly the worst love interest in the entire MCU. She is completely infatuated with Bruce the entire time. She whispers everything she says, and everything she says is basically just asking Bruce questions and treating him like a baby. Emil volunteers himself to take a dose of an experimental super soldier serum that was deemed a failure, but should help even the odds against the Hulk. In another one of General Ross's genius moves, he thinks it's a good idea to slowly turn Blonsky into a Hulk of his own. Fight fire with fire, I guess. Bruce and Betty try to make contact with Mr. Blue at Culver University after Betty revealed that she had the data, but they are attacked by Ross, Blonsky, and an army of soldiers. Causing Bruce to transform into the Hulk, a large-scale battle ensues, resulting in Emil being severely injured and Betty almost dying from gunfire and an explosion. The Hulk leaves with Betty, much to the dismay of General Ross and Leonard Samson. This part of the movie is kind of funny. Ross orders the helicopter to attack Hulk even though his daughter is standing right there. Hulk's idea to save Betty from the gunfire is to cause the helicopter to crash and explode right in front of them. Then, out of nowhere, Leonard shows up, and they cue just dramatic rain. This movie thinks that it's way more serious than it actually is. After recovering, Bruce and Betty make plans to reach Manhattan to meet up with Mr. Blue. They ditch all technology that could track them, but General Ross has now worked with S.H.I.E.L.D. to have the phrases Mr. Green and Mr. Blue added to their database, allowing them to see their most recent communications. Blonsky, who was severely injured in the fight at Culver University, is now fully healed and takes another dose of the super soldier serum, which further warps his mind and body. Bruce and Betty make their way to Grayburn College in Manhattan to meet with Mr. Blue, aka Samuel Stearns. Stearns claims to have created a possible antidote for the Hulk, could either kill him or work only once. Banner, restrained, decides to take the cure, which seemingly gets rid of the Hulk. Then Stearns reveals that he had been synthesizing Banner's blood sample that he had sent him into a very large quantity to help advance humanity and cure disease and all that. But before Bruce could tell him how dangerous his blood is, Ross's team tranquilizes Banner to take him in, with the help of Emil, of course. While Betty and Bruce are taken into Ross's custody, Blonsky confronts Stearns, telling him to make him like the Hulk. Stearns warns that mixing Bruce's blood with whatever he already has inside him could turn him into an abomination, but since this is the final act, we need a big superhero fight, so he gives him the blood, turning him into a monster, surpassing the Hulk. This part of the movie is kinda odd. First of all, Blonsky's desire to be like the Hulk comes kinda out of nowhere. Secondly, the government never does anything with the Hulk's blood. They set up Samuel Stearns to become his comic counterpart, the Leader, but he's never seen again. With his mind warped even further, Blonsky goes on a rampage in Harlem to try and lure the Hulk out for a real fight. Despite just potentially curing himself like 5 minutes ago, Bruce gets permission from Ross to hop out of the helicopter to stop the Abomination. Luckily, he transforms into the Hulk after crashing into the ground, so I guess the cure didn't work. It would have been an interesting final fight if, he had to somehow stop the Abomination in his human form, but we're gonna watch them beat each other up. The two have a pretty big battle, probably killing a lot of people and causing a lot of damage to one another. The battle leads up to a rooftop where Hulk manages to get the upper hand and nearly kills Abomination before Betty tells him not to, for some reason. A month later in British Columbia, Bruce is on his own meditating, and with a final shot, we see that he's learned to control his power instead of trying to remove it. That's right. The whole point of this movie was him trying to get rid of the Hulk, but learning that sometimes he's necessary, and that instead of curing it, he should control it. And the entire learning to control it part happens off screen. I think the cinematography of the movie was pretty good. There are varied locations, and it lacks the gray look that a lot of MCU movies are criticized for, which gives the movie a bit of a unique feel, I guess. I also like how brutal the action is. It didn't really pull any punches, and it was well choreographed. For a 2008 movie, the Hulk himself looks pretty good for a full CG character. There are a couple moments where a helicopter here or there looks fake, and some of the Abomination effects at the end aren't super great, but it's still very good, all things considered. Most of the music wasn't very memorable to me, but I did think the main theme was good, and I like how they incorporated the 70s Hulk show theme a few times. Getting some behind the scenes trivia, I think in a lot of ways it's a shame how this movie turned out. A lot of care and depth was put into a lot of areas that I feel didn't really shine through. There was also a lot of setup for future installments that was just dropped after this movie, as this never got a sequel. My opinion of this movie certainly lowered. Unlike Iron Man, this movie didn't really make me feel anything about the characters, and I'm gonna have to give this movie my score of meh. Again, all the pieces are here, but it lacks the sort of soul that makes me care about the things that are happening. Good action, effects, and some music, etc. can't really save the movie if I'm not invested in the characters. Well, those are my thoughts on The Incredible Hulk. Not so incredible in my opinion, but if you've seen the movie, let me know what you think in the comments. If you haven't already, leave a like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you can see when I post other videos, including my next sketch review, where I'll be talking about Iron Man 2.